It has been a sensational run for both players to get to this point. Yapp unbeaten this week in Atlantic City, a perfect 7-0 record. Ko Ping Chung with just one loss. That was in the second round as he fell 9-6 to the American Corey Deuel.
Have a great match. Sir, have a great match, sir.
Yeah, I remember that match. Corey Deuel versus Ko Ping Chung. Corey Deuel winding back the clock. Ko Ping Chung struggled a little bit in the early part of that match, so is that going to be a key to this semi-final?
Boise.
How are we doing, buddy?
Good pal.
Mr. Ko wins the lag.
So this top 10 player in the world, Ko Ping Chung, looking to win this U.S. Open for a first time.
Number 1, Mr. Ko, to break.
Trying to get to the final and breaking to open this match.
He is breaking from further outside like most of the players. He's hit these perfect, caught the lower side of the 8. He's not going to get a shot on the blue 2, and he's elevated over the pink ball. He's going to have to push here probably, right, Carl?
Yeah, definitely. Good break, though. Just that unfortunate flick on
Push out called.
The break shot, all you can do is hit them as good as you possibly can. Players are trying to pot the one ball in the side, which he did. And then you've just got to take what the table gives you. This is the game of 9-ball.
I think he's got to really be conscious of what he does here. A lot of times we say in the first game of a match like this, it can set the tone, can set the pace. Looks like he's looking to leave him somewhere long and straight, or maybe just an edge, but I think he's better off letting him see the whole ball as long as he gets him on the rail, just like this, which is fine. You note
Mr. Yapp,
the purple 5 blocking the right-hand side pocket, so if Yapp were to go ahead and pot this 2, he'd have to bank the 3, which doesn't go. Might consider passing this.
Do you think it's worth really trying to power this ball in and almost take a gamble in the sense of, imagine pulling the shot off in the opening rack?
I agree, but what are the odds, right? Are the percentages high on him potting this ball? He's going after it, I think, or is he playing defense? This was the only thing. Is he going to fluke the 7? No. This was the only thing I felt like, you know, the first shot of the match, I think it was a very low percentage shot, Steve. I don't know that that was the right play. Obviously, hindsight's 20/20. If he makes it, he looks like a superstar.
Now this is a race to 11, and in case you're just joining us, there is a shot clock between shots for these players, something that's introduced later on in the tournament. They did not play with a shot clock earlier this week, so players adjusting as they get into these later rounds, and they have to play a shot within a given amount of time, and they each have one extension to that shot clock per rack, and Ko Ping Chung just used his as he gets the pot.
Notice the speed he hit this with. He wanted to make sure they cleared, therefore he could gain another shot on the blue 2 due to the pink 4 being so close. And he's done just that, Carl.
Amazing camera angle there with the old slow-mo. You could see the spin. Wow.
Wow.
He did not have a lot of gap there.
Much tighter than it initially looked. One thing I've noticed about Ko, and one thing that I love, is the simplicity that he looks like he has when he's running around the table. It just looks effortless. And I know it's not, but he makes it really look easy.
Yeah, I think that's down to his cue ball control. One of the very few players where, after pocketing the ball, the cue ball always ends up in the perfect spot for the next one.
He never really looks like he's grinding over shots.
Yeah, it's exactly it, Steve. That's what it seems like. It seems like he's never struggling, never sweating. Everything just looks so smooth and meant to be.
Also, his cue action, if you look at the way he pulls the cue back before pulling the trigger, even that's smooth.
Ko wins the rack.
A strong opening statement by Ko Ping Chung, the 28-year-old from Taiwan, as he strikes first in this semifinal matchup with Aloysius Yapp.
Always nice to win the opening rack of any match, whether it's the first round, the semis, the final, in your local Tuesday night bar team game. It doesn't matter. Just get the first rack on the board.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think it sends a message. And you know Ko's here to stay. Got to wonder what Yapp is thinking, but he's gotten this far, and I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, they realize it's a race to 11. It's a long match. They both faced various measures of adversity throughout the week. Neither has had a straight run where they've dominated every match. So they face these tests, and they know that there's a long way to go.
There sure is a long way to go. I'd like to see more of Yapp. I haven't had the opportunity to watch him play that much this week, but I think that we're going to get to see
Number
it
two,
today.
our current scores are 1-0 in favor of Mr. Ko.
So Ko Ping Chung taking the opening rack, and he breaks for the second time in the match.
Oh, that's a nice break. I do like the way he's hitting the cue ball off the one ball.
Yeah, he's put a lot of power into that break. Note the blue two. Not the easiest of shots, even though this two is hanging. Do not let that mislead you. Getting the cue ball out of there in a pocket like this isn't always the easiest, but the three is in a pretty good position.
Yeah, on a club table, this is a lot easier, but on here, this cue ball will be spinning. It'll slow down.
Yeah, exactly, Carl. And when you've got this slippery cloth and the lights, you notice how it killed right there, right? He'd like to have had a lot more range. In other words, a lot closer than he is now. Note the pink 4, so he's got to contend with the green 6 and the black 8.
This is a little test early on in rack 2. Long pot.
Extension, please.
Wow, very, very clean hit there. And once again, the difficulty was high, and he made it look low.
So for the second rack in a row, he uses his extension to the shot clock early in the rack, but that's pretty common because more often than not, you need that time when there's still more balls on the table early in a rack to consider your options. Later on in every rack, typically the shots are more straightforward.
Might have overrun the mark just a hair. This is laying natural. Boy, he sure makes it look natural. He doesn't want to fall straight here, Carl.
Yeah, for his cue ball excellence, we can mark that down as a mistake from Baby Ko. Baby Ko is what we call him behind the scenes because Big Brother Ko Ping Chung, also a phenomenal player, the current World Pool Masters champion.
Those two were practicing together earlier before this match. What a benefit that is to have a brother in your corner who Knows what it's like at a high level like this.
Yeah, very well noted, Steve. I can't imagine how many hours they've played together.
Well, there's also a third brother that's with him who's also a tidy player, just not quite won the events that, you know.
Do you know the age of the third brother? He's much younger, right?
Yeah, he's the younger. Ko Ping Han, he's called. So you always see the three of them all over the venue, sweating the action, practicing together, watching each other's games.
Ko Ping Chung runs the table, and he runs out to a 2-0 lead in the race to 11. Looking sharp, looking on point here in the arena. And what a fabulous venue it is here at Harrah's in Atlantic City. It feels like it's become the home of the U.S. Open now. 46th edition of this grand, stately event. And you see the amphitheater like setting around this featured table. Earlier in the week when we started with over 250 players, there were pool tables all over this place. It looked like a classic pool hall, but now as we're down to the final matches, all of the attention is on the one main table where the best players this week are now battling for a spot in the final.
Yeah, and one thing from the outside looking in, especially on camera, that arena probably doesn't do it justice. It's massive. And when you walk in the first day here, you're just in awe at how beautiful it is and the way they've set it up. What an amazing job Matchroom does.
Rack number 3. Our current score is 2-0 in favor of Mr. Ko. Mr. Ko to break.
Breaking for the third straight rack.
Ooh, that is nice. Note the pink 4, Carl.
Yeah, work to do. He's close to the 2 ball. Got to make sure you don't forget to pot the 2, of course. Play it into the top left. It's all about what angle he gets on the 3. He's just coming round to see if he can pot it if he lands below the 9. Looks tight from the overhead.
I think he can pot it if he gets below the 9. He could also play short side. All depends, like you said, on where he gets on the 3. This is pretty thin, guys. He's got to dig deep into this so he avoids the purple 5. It's close enough, though, that he can do that without a problem. He's gotten short side position.
Yeah, he's going to come over to the left. This will show you what the capabilities are of his cue ball control, because it's not easy. He's got to get the pace right. I wonder if he can just roll forward. I wonder if that's giving the natural angle, or does he have to play a little stun shot?
Yeah,
difficult to see.
I agree. You know, rotation players typically don't like rolling balls, but I think it's almost natural. He still played a little stun, but this is why he's steeper. But he's okay here because he can come out 2 rails now past the 7 and below the 8.
Yeah, he's the type of guy who kind of relishes these sort of racks. He wants to show off the cue ball excellence that he possesses. Watch the cue ball, like Scott says, a couple of rails back out.
I think he wanted to get a bit deeper there into the corner and come out a little closer to the 5. He's going to be all right. The only issue here is the cue ball's going to be going to the left long rail.
He's very good at this type of shot. Watch how he kills the cue ball. You see?
Wow.
Really good at that.
Great call, Carl. What a hit that is. Effortless. I can tell you've watched this man play a lot of pool.
I've watched Big Brother Ko play and all. They're very similar. I think it's the way they get taught over there. They're all very deliberate cueists. And they play with like quite a wide tip and all, like over 30 mil. You can see.
I
Thick.
noticed this, but they don't make it look like a thick tip, but it is, and that's interesting as well.
And also, you know how we was talking about your cue the other day, and you used quite a low tip.
Yes.
Take note how high this man's tip is. We'll get a look at some point.
Closing in on a 3-0 lead.
Yeah, and you can see it there, Carl. He has basically a full tip, and I would really like to ask him a couple questions about that at some point.
Ko Ping Chung has wrung all of the energy and harnessed everything in this arena in the early going. He's run the table in the last 2 racks. Aloysius Yapp has not been on the table since rack 1. And right now he's pitching a shutout, 3-0 here in Atlantic City. The Pro Tour heads to Vietnam, and you can see the Hanoi Open here on Sky Sports beginning at 5 a.m. on October the 14th. It should be a very compelling matchup. So many good players coming from that part of the world, and now they get to play on home soil for the first time at the inaugural Hanoi Open here on Sky Sports. Something that's also happening for the first time, a matchup between these two players in a matchroom event.
Rack number 4.
That's
Our
interesting.
current score is 4.
That's a great
2-0
stat.
in favor of Mr. Ko. Mr. Ko to break.
Yeah, these two players, two of Asia's finest, they will be in Hanoi competing in the inaugural. Ko's been breaking well.
Yeah, we really haven't seen anything of Yapp. And speaking of Ko breaking well, this is dressed up beautifully. Look at the spread.
Wow, he is doing a number at the early stages of this semi-final. Every break, pretty much a carbon copy. That's not easy. Scott, you've been out there breaking.
No, it's not easy, and Jeremy and I alluded to that last match. You'd think you have it, you think you have it, and the next thing you know, it goes awry. It takes an accurate hit. That's why most of these players are constantly working on the break. It's the most important shot of the game. But I'll tell you what, guys, from what I'm looking at right now and what I've been seeing, whoever wins this match, if it's Ko, Federer's got his hands full.
Yeah, I know this is early stages, but 4 racks, which it's looking like, in the way he's breaking, he's looking really good. And what a final that would be. I know it's early doors.
Well, guys, just think about it. Yapp has not been on the table since early in rack number 1.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we haven't seen any of him. He is a cool character. But if you note the body language of Yapp at this moment, he's got his hand on his face, a little bit crossed off, and that tends to lead to a negative mindset. Not saying he's got it, but you've got to wonder.
Yeah, and with this break format, we don't see many packages run. Not like the old days with the 1 ball on the spot where the break was easy. Used to get loads of 5-packs, 6-packs. Not so much now. They're very few and far between. So Yapp, a little unlucky for this to happen in the biggest match of his life.
Couldn't agree more with you there, Carl, but I think that this is something that Matchroom has done, and it's really led to a competitive sport and an elevated sport. 9-ball's become a little bit more like 10-ball when you randomly rack the 2 in different places, because now you can't play position on anything every game.
Yeah, and you're sacrificing the cue ball, comes off the side rail, usually hits another ball a large percent of the time, so you don't know where the cue ball's going to end up. He's got enough angle here. He can
Attention,
come
please.
across. I think he wanted a little bit more. The Ko brothers love these big angles where they can just cheat the pocket a little bit. This is why he's a bit up and down on this, because for me and you, Scott, well, there you see.
Well, he just looked, Carl, he just looked at coming below the 9. I like coming out to the center of the table, but I'm definitely not the one out there. Wow. I think that was a bit risky. He got away with it.
Yeah, he did get away with it.
Well, remember, guys, last year when he lost in the semifinals here, he had a lot of unlucky breaks, things that just didn't go his way. But right now, everything is going the way of Ko Ping Chung.
Yes, Steve, and I think a lot of that has to do with how he's breaking and how he's playing. And so far, it just seems like a flawless clinic.
One-way traffic here at Harrah's in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Ko Ping Chung with a break and run in the last 3 racks and a commanding 4-rack lead here in this second semifinal matchup. The winner gets Fedor Gorsht in the final later on this afternoon. And for that man, Aloysius Yapp, it has been a while since he has hit a shot. And it will be interesting to see how he handles this and manages the moment. He has admitted to working with a sports psychologist over the years to learn how to handle his emotions, his nerves, the pressure a little bit better. And he says he has made progress, but he's still working on it.
Yeah, Steve, I was listening to Carl interview him yesterday or the day, I believe it was yesterday, and I've never really heard a more humble man. Almost like he's lacking confidence. His play doesn't show that, but it's what it seemed like to me. What a nice young man he is, and I definitely want to see him play.
Bracket number 5. Our current score is 4-0 in favor of Mr. Ko. Mr. Ko, to break.
Little flick on the purple 5. Might have a little issue here, Carl. As far as running out, I don't know that that's going to happen. What a great angle of that one. It actually had spin on it. Took a little swerve to the side.
Yeah, so if you can imagine when the player is breaking, he's clearly hitting the exact point where he needs to, because the one ball's going in the side. If you hit it a little thinner, you're going to miss it. If you hit it a little fuller, you're going to miss it. So there's a certain contact point to make the one. What's he got here? What's he looking at? Is he playing the hook?
Yeah, he's just got to be careful not to pot another ball if he does. I don't know if that's going to do it. Steve, this is the first opportunity we've seen in a long time for this young man to be at the table.
Since the opening rack, early in rack 1. So Yapp has been in his chair for a long time. And now he's finally back at the table.
And you can see right there with another great camera angle. I don't know. I don't even know if he can see the lower edge of this 3. He might be better off kicking at the bottom of this ball. That's what he did. I think he's done okay. If it gets a little bounce, yeah, I don't know that that's going to do it, Steve.
Scott, how big of a deal is it when you sit for an extended period of time to then come out and hit your next shot?
Yeah, well, the adrenaline's really not, your heart's not pumping, the adrenaline's not running, your body's not warm, it's not that motion yet. So you can tell he seems like he's a little cold, and that's human nature. So I think that he's going to need a little bit
Attention,
more.
please.
He's going to need some type of an error from little Ko in order to move forward. I don't know that this is it, Carl.
Well, let's not forget the other semi-final. Purcell was 5-1 up over Ghost. Ghost comes back to win 11-6, so this happens. Yapp will have been in this position before.
And Carl, also remember yesterday in the quarterfinals in Ko Ping Chung's win over Max Lechner, he led in that match 5-1. Lechner came back to tie 6-all before Ko Ping Chung went on to win 10-6.
Yeah, the game of Nineball, this is what happens. This is the beauty of the winner break, because if you find yourself playing bad, losing quite heavily, maybe you could put a 3 or a 4 pack together, keep your opponent in the chair. What a shot this is, by the way, Frosty.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what he's doing, is keeping his opponent in the chair. And so far, he just looks like a perfectionist to me.
Here's another look. That is disgusting. That's the only way to describe it. Cue ball on the back rail. That was thin.
What a pure hit this was. Just looks to me like he's out for blood. Wow.
So methodical, ruthless.
Yeah, I totally agree, Steve. Seems like a straight assassin.
Yeah, he's angry. Back-to-back semi-finals here. Lost last year. Doesn't want to lose again.
Well, in football, they would call it being clinical in the box. And that's what he is on the table right now. Almost halfway home. 5-0. An emphatic lead for Ko Ping Chung. What a start in this semifinal matchup with Aloysius Yapp here in Atlantic City. The break has been sensational. And that has been the key factor that has prevented Yapp from hitting many shots whatsoever. Ko Ping Chung has dominated the table, has barely missed, on target with just about every shot, and all Yapp can do is watch.
Yeah, and this shot here really sends a message off that back rail.
Ko Ping Chung has had a terrific week, but this may be the best match he has played so far.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that, Steve. I don't see how you can play any better.
The match against Max Lechner, where he had that lead, he looked like he was playing like he is now. Then out of nowhere, he missed a silly ball. Twice he did it. Lechner played flawless, come back to 6-6.
Current score is 5-0.
Ko's got to be careful. Got to keep the
In
heat
favor
on.
of Mr. Ko.
Yeah, and that's a great point,
Mr. Ko
Carl.
to break.
We just saw it in the last match where Alexis made a couple blunders, looked like he was going to run away with it, made a couple blunders, and here comes Federer. So you've got to keep the pedal down. And this is a great view of that one ball. Straight into the side. The 2's going to dress up as the 6 going to clear, and it has.
Has he made the one ball 6 from 6?
I think so.
Wow.
And it's swerving as it goes in, unlike some of the other players that I've seen. It's trickling. This is actually swerving as it goes in.
It's interesting, when I was watching him break earlier during practice, he actually missed that one ball on multiple occasions in the side pocket, but he's been spot on here in the match.
Carl, what do you see here that's trouble? This shot here is a big shot, right?
Yeah, I don't see much trouble. The 5 passes the 8. He can pot this into the pocket, get the cue ball anywhere in the centre, leave that nice big angle that he loves. This needs to settle down. It's okay.
Well, that's your point to his good cue ball, and I'm noticing it more and more as this match goes on.
Presume the 7 passes the 8. If it does, well, I think Yapp will be going into the break. 6 down.
I do believe it passes.
3 or 4 of the racks have been nice layouts. The others, he's still had to come with some good shots. You think it's easy, but he's making it look easy. He had that shot on the 3 ball where he had to thread the needle to get on that 4. Then he had the fabulous pot off the back rail on the 4. You know, if you don't knock them in, that's 2 racks over to Yapp. The score line could be 3-2. This is what you don't see.
Absolutely. He's made it look very easy on a couple technical outs.
Attention, please.
It's all due to this cue ball and his ability to pocket the ball. Steve, right there, that's a sign of confidence. A lot of guys might consider playing that purple 5 in the right-hand side pocket. He elected to take it all the way down. Really a sign of confidence.
Is that the kind of confidence that you get as the match goes on, or is that something maybe he brought in earlier today, just a feeling of how he would approach the match overall?
Yeah, I think it's actually a very good point. I think it's a kind of confidence that comes as the match goes on. I don't necessarily know, but he's such a class player. He might shoot that right out of the gate like that. There you see a great view. The 7 clears without an issue.
Well, this has just been flawless. It really has. Made the 1 ball 6 from 6 on the break. He's had 3 decent layouts, 3 tricky layouts. Everything is working well for Baby Ko.
He's got half a dozen racks in the bank. Over halfway to the final now. Ko Ping Chung, a machine in Jersey. The break has been terrific. Third time. He's run the rack, and a demonstrative 6-0 lead for Ko Ping Chung in the semifinals of the team competition, and it's the 30th anniversary of the Mosconi Cup. It's coming in early December from London. You can watch it beginning December the 6th at 6:30 p.m. on Sky Sports. And Fedor Gorst, who is into the final of the U.S. Open here today, is about to qualify for Team Europe After the end of this U.S. Open, he will be the second of 3 automatic berths given to Team Europe. There are 3 for each squad overall. The final one is coming up after the Hanoi Open in
Number
Vietnam.
7. Our current score is 6-0 in favor of Mr. Ko. Mr. Ko to break.
Carl, this is what we keep coming back to. This break has been ruthless. Can he continue it?
Yes, he can.
Oh, my goodness.
Where's the 3 ball going to finish? Listen, I'll tell you what I noticed in the break. Yapp went out, understandable. Little Ko stayed in the chair. He's in the zone. He doesn't want to walk out that arena. He clocked that. He understood. Things was going well.
Now, guys, this match has now been going on for over 45 minutes, and you can count the number of shots Yapp has taken on one hand.
Yeah, the stats, Steve. I would almost like to see the stats here in the next game or two. If this continues, it would probably be staggering.
We do see this now and again on tour. We know this is part of the sport. This is what can make it exciting, fast. I remember the Spanish Open when Skylar Woodward beat Ko Ping Chung 10 racks to 0 in about 60 minutes.
Okay, well, I really like what he did right there. He avoided all traffic coming below the 8. You talking about his cue ball allows me to notice it even more. He avoided everything there. Yeah, he doesn't like being straight in, but it's better than being behind the 8 or 9.
And he played it left-handed.
Well noted.
Extension, please.
So he'll use his 1 extension for this rack. More time available on the shot clock.
He's aware of the fact that this is probably the shot that wins him the rack. It needs to bounce, and it has.
I like that shot because he was straight. He played a delayed draw stroke. Like, almost like you're playing a stun shot, but aim low on the cue ball. That just changes the angle because it looked like the cue ball was drawing back into the 5.
Yeah, I've got to say, Carl, the more I watch him play, and I've been struck by his ability and his style from the sidelines, but now that we've got the best seat in the house, I have to say he's probably one of the favorites of mine, without a doubt.
Well, we have the best seat, and I'm afraid Aloysius Yapp has the worst seat at the minute. He's got to be feeling, well, not too good out there. He's just watching a clinic.
He's got to be thinking, too, that the pressure that's going to be on every shot he is allowed to take, knowing that Ko Ping Chung is just so on his game and not giving him any opportunities. In the limited times that he may get on the table, the pressure to pull off a shot is going to be immense.
Correct. As Carl mentioned, I mean, this happens on tour, right? And you can't fault Yapp for anything. He hasn't had a look at anything.
Well, it all went wrong with the lag, I'm afraid. He should have won the lag.
And you hear Jeremy Jones speak on it constantly. Well, the first thing you got to do is win the lag.
Yeah, listen, that doesn't mean you're going to be able to do what this man's done.
I agree.
Well, it's the biggest hole that Aloysius Yapp has been in so far here at this U.S. Open. He is unbeaten all week long with a record of 7-0, but now trails 7-0 here in this semifinal matchup with Ko Ping Chung. And here are the numbers you guys were alluding to, and all one-sided.
Wow, look at that. Pot success 100%, as we know. 63 total balls potted, 5 break-and runs, 71% break and win on the rack. No safety errors because it hasn't come up. No golden breaks. No dry breaks. No fouls committed. It's all one-sided on Ko.
Yeah, just look at Yapp. It's just full of zeros. I
Yeah.
can't remember the pot he missed.
He's got 3% table time,
Wow.
and I believe that was the kick shot that he had initially and possibly the lag.
I mean, Aloysius Yapp is a really good player. This is a guy who, when he went to the final here 2 years ago, he beat the world number 1, the world number 2,
Rack
and the
number
world
8.
number 3
Our
before
current
finishing
score
as the
is
runner-up.
7-0 in favor of Mr. Ko. Mr. Ko, to break.
He hasn't lost this week, but this man is just playing out of this world.
I mean, I think that's, what, 8 in a row to the side?
I'm wondering if anybody's made the one ball every break in a match in the side.
I don't know that it's come up. I don't know that anybody's ever counted it. But at this rate, I don't want to jinx it either. But at this point, maybe you already have, Carl. It would be nice to see.
Yeah, just look at what he's faced with again. The pink 4. He's covered up to a degree, but I think he can get out there and find a way of potting it.
Yeah, I don't know, Steve. I don't know if he can get it from the top side of the table or not. He might have to do some damage or go into those balls somehow. Might be able to spin it in, though, I think, from up there towards where the purple 5 is. He's really got to get out into more of the left center of the table here, in my opinion, if he's looking to pot it. I'm speaking of the pink 4. He's looking to the low side of this 4, I think.
Extension, extension, please.
He's not going to sneak in behind it, no. This needs to bounce a little. Yeah, this is okay.
Really?
Yeah, this is a little thin one. Watch the way he hits the cue ball here. He'll just come to the right side of the 6 off 2 rails. Leave that big steep angle and then kill the 5 ball in.
Well, you make it sound easy, Carl.
No, it's not easy. It's actually quite thin.
Yeah, it sure is.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really thin. It was laying tough, and he was going to have traffic going into the 7. That tells you how mature he is.
When was the last time we've seen him play a safety shot? It's been a while.
It sure has.
That's how good he is playing overall, and now Yapp just has not had hardly any opportunities. He's finally back at the table.
Extension, please.
Can you call this an opportunity, Carl?
Well, it's at the table, but I know what you mean. It's not really, but I suppose Yap's just got to try and set mini targets. Listen, Yapp would snap your hand off if he said the score was 10-10, so maybe that's the target.
Well, he's done well here. I mean, he's done as good as he can do here.
Yeah, the crowd want to see a match. They want to see some drama.
Well, they want to see Yapp make a ball. Oh my goodness, he's hit this well. Such a difficult shot being elevated over that ball. Carl, he's playing perfect.
Seen it before with this man. This is what you can do to opponents. Is he chasing the 6 ball, trying to make something happen?
Yeah, I think you've got to go aggressive here. I don't know. He's kicking at this. I think you've got to jump and hope you fluke the 6 in or something.
Need some help.
He's made the 8 a little difficult, Steve. Here's a tester.
Well, Ko Ping Chung has passed just about every test so far. These two players do have a lot of history, even though this is their first meeting in a matchroom event. They've played a lot in other events around the world. Ko Ping Chung was telling me before this match that the record is just about 50-50. But he's making it one-sided right now.
Sizing up the combo. Could also play for the 8 down the rail. Got to be careful because you can hug yourself on the potting angle with the 9-ball. The way this man's playing. Even this rack seems difficult. He won't clear the table.
You know, to keep it up, to keep this momentum up in this show of absolute talent, it's so difficult. You just got to wonder, is there going to be any fault from Ko in this match?
What's the big challenge in that, Scott? Is it just focus, endurance?
Yeah,
What's the big key?
I think you said it. I think first is focused, right? You've got to keep that focus. Nothing changes. You can't let anything change in your mind going through this process. And following that is endurance.
Well, he's going to play on the 8-ball. He's playing position for the 8 in the bottom right corner.
Oh. This is going to get funny.
I don't believe it is.
It's got me perfect.
Still got a bit of an angle to work with, but he can pot this ball, cue ball roll down to where he's pointing, cut the 9 in.
Well, the 9 is not frozen, so if the cue ball actually ends up where he was pointing, it isn't easy.
Played it off the second rail.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned earlier that he had a little issue with the shot clock. 2 shots in a row, I think he's contested the shot clock. This shot is not a give me. The 9 is not frozen, and it makes it a lot more difficult. Wow.
Virtually flawless. This is some kind of performance by the world number 9, Ko Ping Chung. He is dominating Aloysius Yapp right now in this semifinal matchup. The 28-year-old from Taiwan. Yesterday had the 10-6 win in the quarters to get here over last year's runner-up Max Lechner. And just look at the cue ball control here to finish this latest rack. Well, the way he's playing right now, who would have thought that he lost in the second round earlier this week, had to go into the loser's bracket, then had to survive a Hill final midway through the competition, also won another match 10-8. But here today, the best match of the entire week in Atlantic City, just when he needed it the most on the biggest stage that he's played on here so far in Atlantic City.
The man on the right, Singapore's Aloysius Yapp, he will be thinking, why me? But he will have done this to opponents. When you're doing it to opponents, it's the best feeling in the world. When it's happening to you,
Rack number 9.
you feel like smashing your cue over your knee.
Yeah,
in favor of Mr. Ko.
I think it's just in
Mr.
this
Ko,
situation,
break.
right? It's such a big event, and when you talk to the players, this might be the biggest event in the world to win, right? Maybe the toughest, and you just do have to wonder, why me?
I believe that's 9 from 9.
Yeah, and this time he's going to come away with little or nothing.
Yeah, this is what Yapp needed in the opening rack.
Yeah, no doubt.
Not the 9th rack. There's the swerve you was alluding to,
It's
Scott.
done that every time, and that camera angle just gives us such a great view of what the one is doing.
Now the cue ball winding up further up the table than what Ko Ping
Push out
Chung
cold.
talked about wanting earlier during the course of his practice. Wanted it more in the middle of the table, and now calls for the push out with no real shot on the 2.
Look at this, Carl. He's pushing to a jump.
Mr. Yapp, your option?
Wow.
I think Yap's got to take it on. He's got to make something happen. If you're Yap and you have any positive thoughts in your mind, you could say, I could make history here. I could make the best comeback in U.S. Open history from a guy that's played perfect on me all night.
I just want to interrupt there. I was 9-1 down in the semis, Scott.
Oh, you were?
You're throwing me under the bus, buddy.
Did you win?
I did win.
My bad, pal.
As
My
if
bad.
you forgot about that.
Well, I remember you used to play back in the 70s or 80s.
I'm just joking.
Okay.
Listen, what's Ko thinking here? Yap knows Ko's very dangerous with the short stick.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think he's just trying to create distance here, or is he playing the combination? Oh, look at this.
Everything is working out for little Ko here. What was Yap thinking? He could have played the jump shot, but listen, that is rough.
Yeah, very low percentage on the combination. I thought he might try and catch the 2 full, send it up 2 rails, and swing the cue ball behind the 7-6. That didn't happen, and he got away with it. Now you really have to feel for the man at the table. Hopefully something good happens for him here. It's not terrible.
Now, it's worth remembering last year in the semifinals when Ko Ping Chung lost, he suffered through a lot of unlucky circumstances, but today things breaking more in his favor.
So are we saying karma is real?
For Ko Ping Chung it is.
Is he just playing off the edge? Oh, he is. He's using the 4. Using the pink 4. Used it well.
Yes, he has. He's got to have a go at this, Carl. He's got to try and pot this 2 ball. It carries some type of a shot on the 3. He's got to make something happen. Come to the bottom rail. Tip of left-hand English. Try and catch the 2 fat. Hopefully get lucky and pot it.
Extension, please.
It's been going so bad for this young man that he doesn't even have a good bridge as to where the cue ball ended up.
That is a good effort. It really is. That was not far away.
And the crowd acknowledging that good effort. Very educated crowd here. Where do you play this, Carl?
Extension, please.
I believe he can play it where he wants. He's a machine.
Extension, please.
I agree. I just think that the purple 5 might be hampering the cut to the lower top right. Okay, maybe not. He can get into it.
Yeah, and he's playing this pocket because it offers a slightly bigger pocket. See how it caught the rail? That's the reason he played it in that pocket.
Well noted. It's the first ball that I've seen him hit, literally, in 9 games that wasn't pure. This one needs to be pure as well. Oof. Rubbed its feet.
Now Well, he made those mistakes yesterday that allowed Max Lechner back in before Ko Ping Chung rallied late. But really showing no signs of losing his form here today.
The little double kiss has helped.
Yeah, and I'm sure he played it.
Yapp has showed no emotion in the chair. He just sat and watched it. He knows what this is about. Nothing much he can do.
As you said earlier, Carl, he's done it to others. It won't be the first and it won't be the last, and I guess that's the beauty of this sport.
But when you're on the receiving end, what do you say to yourself? I mean, you see the scoreboard, you realize the percentages of coming back. What do you tell yourself when you're sitting there in that chair?
I think you tell yourself, come Monday morning, I'm going to go and get myself in the job queue because it feels pretty brutal. But after a couple of days, you realise there's another event. Listen, Yapp will be over in Vietnam for the Hanoi Open, and in a couple of weeks' time, maybe you snap that tournament off. That's the beauty of the tour now. There's a lot of events keep getting added. There's more opportunity, so it's easier to take defeat.
No, and I agree, but are we getting ahead of ourselves here? I mean, I know it looks like it's over, but he's still got to win 2 more games.
But he is inching closer. Ko Ping Chung shutting out Aloysius Yapp, a man who is undefeated so far here this week at the U.S. Open. But Ko Ping Chung putting on a clinic. Now 2 racks away from advancing to the final here at the 46th U.S. Open in Atlantic City, New Jersey. first time ever, the Hanoi Open, as the World Tour sets up shop in Vietnam for its inaugural edition of the Hanoi Open. Looking forward to that coming up on Sky Sports here. But in the meantime, still some pool to be played here at the U.S. Open. And Ko Ping Chung is playing the best pool of anyone right now.
Track number 10. Our current score is 9-0 in favor of Mr. Ko. Mr. Ko to break.
Well, so for some context on just how well Ko Ping Chung is playing, he has had more break and runs than Yapp has had shots. It's been just incredible.
Well, and another thing, Steve, is he's made the
Push
one
out call.
every single game he's broke.
Yeah, it's just a shame for Yapp that the last couple of breaks, Ko's had to play the push, which has meant Yapp has got out of the seat.
Yeah, and you'd like to say this will be another opportunity for Yapp, but it never seems like it's a great one. I think this is probably the best opportunity Yapp's had to play some type of a defensive play here. He cannot and will not pass this up. But can you imagine being in his shoes right now?
You can see he's splitting the 2-ball and the cue ball. Did he get there?
I believe he's left a gap, and that's kind of the telling of the story this whole match, really. I mean, yes, it's been all Ko, but when you do seem to get an opportunity not winning a game in a situation like this, what do you expect? Yeah, and that's another situation, right? I don't believe he's made a ball this whole match.
Extension, please.
82 balls to 0.
That has happened once before on tour. I need to get that information, but I remember somebody won a big scoreline and the other player never made a pot.
Well, it's not over, right? But it's sure looking like it is.
Yeah, Ko Ping Chung is not the type of player where the wheels would fall off.
Yeah, but the 8 is in a tougher spot. The 7 does lead to it. He's pretty flat here. Wow.
Well, even though this match has been one-sided, I'm sure the crowd, which will be full of pool players, they will really appreciate the performance they have seen. They've been live here to witness. We've been treated to some phenomenal matches where we've had hills, we've had players run in front, players come back. This has been a one-sided clinic.
And you can tell that his pace has picked up just a fraction. Maybe he's smelling the finish line. But sometimes, and I don't care how great you play, that can get the best of you as well.
Yeah, what do they always say? The first rack and the last rack being the toughest.
Yeah, there's no doubt. The 8 is tough. Carl, he wants to make sure he carries the angle on the brown 7.
Even that comes up perfect. Doesn't come over and land a little straight. You can just pull this ball over. This needs to settle down.
Well, I feel like his adrenaline is really getting up there. You can notice it in how he's walking around the table. I just mentioned that. And in saying that, he's overhit this ball. You know he's going to cut it. He wants to keep a perfect record. Will he keep a perfect record?
Yeah, this is not easy. But it's in the middle of the pocket, Foster. Here comes the cue ball. This is to get on the hill.
And I believe this is historic, right? I don't know. I don't do a lot of this. Hopefully I do in the future, but nobody's seen this.
In the history of this sport, when you consider the enormity of the tournament, the size of the stage, the grandness of the atmosphere, what would you compare this to?
What would you compare it to? Yeah, in this shot here, guys, like 99% of the players are going to catch the rail going down. He hits this as clean as you can hit it. I mean, it doesn't touch a rail, pal.
That was incredible. Give the table fitter a bonus, by the way.
I mean, this has the potential to go down as one of the all-time great performances in a matchroom event on such a grand stage like this at the semifinals of the U.S. Open.
Yeah, there's no doubt in the semifinals, like you say, Steve. It's I'm very fortunate and honored to witness it with the likes of you guys.
Yeah, and it's been the build-up, the fact that only 4 players remain. The arena has got a different feel to it because there's no other tables in play. All eyes are on table 1, the TV table. So to come out second semi-final as well, the guys are practicing. They've had to sweat the drama unfold in the previous semi-final. So their emotions will be feeling that. To come out and do
11.
this, what a
Our current
performance.
score
And
is
now,
10-0.
I just hope he makes
in
the
favor
one.
of Mr.
But a clean
Ko.
sweep.
That would be
Mr. Ko
11 games
to
in a row
break
he's made the one.
on the
And
hill.
let me ask you this. Do you think Federer has heard the buzz?
There
And
it
that
is.
makes it 11 in a row. I don't believe he can make this. Can he make this, Carl?
I don't think it matters. I think this is just, it's just been unbelievable. Federer's had 3 dry breaks in his match. This man has made the 1 ball 11 from 11. Believe me, that is not easy.
Well, I do think it matters if he can make this because he could do something historic, in my opinion, and make every ball on the table in a race to 11 on 4-inch pockets in the semifinals of an event. Well, here's the problem with this shot. Notice the purple 5 and the pink 4. If they are frozen, that will throw the 4 to the bottom rail if it's not wired up to the pocket. He wanted to get to where he could see the whole 3 ball, therefore he could try and catch the bottom side of the purple 5.
He's
Let's see
going
what
for
happens.
this. Yeah, he's going for this. You can see the edge. He's actually got quite a neat safety shot if he wants it, but the fact he's 10 up, he's decided to attack the table. Got to be really careful here. Like Scott says, this could throw to the bottom rail. But why would it throw to the bottom rail? It's turned out perfect. He's going to do the clean sweep. That was insane.
Unbelievable, and the crowd recognizes it as well. What is the total amount of balls run, Steve? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if he makes all the balls in this race to 11, how many is that? Let's figure that out if we can. It's got to be something. It's 99?
99. He's approaching 100 right now.
This is unbelievable.
Aloysius Yapp has not made a pot.
Can you imagine that, Scott? You're in the semi-finals with the cup break. No one has done this all week. I mean, we can't guarantee that because we've not seen all the outside tables, but we can guarantee on every match we've commentated on to come into the semi-final and go away where you've not made a ball.
I don't know that anybody's done this all century,
And
let
guys,
alone all week.
if folks just tuned in for this match today, they would not believe that Ko Ping Chung actually lost his second round match, went into the loser's bracket, had to survive a hill-hill final midway through the loser's bracket, because here he is playing one of the best matches we have ever seen.
You know, when I said I think it's happened before, I've just been informed of the match. Wu Cha-Ching played Wang Can in the quarterfinals of the US Open. Wang Can got beat 11-0, never made a ball.
Really?
But he's done better because this is the semis, it's not the quarters.
That's right, and it's tighter pockets.
Yes.
For
What
the
a
final.
performance.